Hello, fellow book readers. My name is John, and today I want to talk about my top 10 favorite fantasy maps of all time. Now, I am definitely somebody who loves looking at a good map. From the moment I saw my first fantasy map, I was very, very invested in just reading the maps themselves. So, I can open up a book and just look at the map and be entertained looking at the different places and names. So that's something I look for in a fantasy book when I read it. Now, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of books that I've read that the map doesn't seem necessary in or that are good without a map. I'm not saying fantasy books need a map, but I definitely love when they do have a map and the map comes into play in some sort of major way. With that being said, I'm going to put these top 10 in order, but it's sort of just a loose order. This isn't, especially the bottom five, it's just they can be in really any order. But I will be doing them in order. With that being said, let's begin with map number 10. Okay, and the first map we're going to talk about, which is map number 10 for me, would be the map of Elfheim from the Folk of the Air trilogy by Holly Black. I love this map. It's very outlandish. It's very cartoonish. I think it fits the vibe of the story. I opened it up, and I opened up the book, and on the second page, I think, is the map. And as soon as I saw the map, I knew what kind of story we were getting. It's okay, well, this story is going to have some humor in it. It's going to be very outlandish. The characters are not going to really be human at all. And it's true. They're very folklore-y fairies. They're totally different than humans. Nothing alike at all. They're more closely aligned with animals, I would say, than humans. And this is exactly how I would imagine they would draw a map. This map doesn't look like anything a human would ever make, and I really like that. It looks more like something a non-human would make. I mean, these buildings are gigantic compared to the lands. The script is very, cartoonish, I would say. But it's still easy to read, and this map gives you everything you need for the story. I mean, like I said, the buildings are gigantic, but they get all 5 buildings that you need to know. So yeah, you got the 5 buildings you need to know, and just this tiny little piece of land. And you might be thinking, is that all the land in the story? No, there's tons of other smaller sub-kingdoms mentioned, but you don't see them on this map, which is totally fine. You don't need to know them. You don't need to know what they look like. You just need to know that they exist, and you can tell that in the story. The places you need to know are actually included in this map, and I just love the artistic version of this map. It's very artsy and cartoony, and I just love it. It speaks to the way the story is going to tell, and I love when a map does that. If you look at the map, right here, there's people sword fighting on the map. It's crazy. Over here, you got somebody fanning themselves. There's a giant fox over here. There's just so much about this map that is very cool. Now, is this a map I would want for my serious fantasy story? Not exactly, and this series does get a little serious, but it's got that sort of elf humor to it, and I really enjoy this map for what it represents, and just looking at it in general. Very fun map. Okay, at number 9 for me is the map of the Shattered Seas by Joe Abercrombie. This is his young adult series that I don't think gets nearly enough love and gets actually way too much hate. I love this map. I love how it's called the Shattered Seas, and it looks like these lands are shattered. I love that there's just the giant water, ocean, and sea in the middle. I think that's perfect, and if you look, it just looks like the land itself has been shattered. I think that's just the artistic vision to make this map, I think, really, really worked. This map gives you everything you need to know. It tells you everything you need to know about the culture of these people. They're going to be a seafaring people. They're going to be warriors. And yeah, you get that immediately. Immediately, first page, it's yep, these are seafaring people. Yep, they're warriors. I love how this is a post-apocalyptic world, so you get sort of a snap view of the kingdoms that we need to know, but you can tell there are worlds beyond this, right? And those are the lands that are where the elf magic is. It's not real magic. It's just more advanced weapons than these people have, but just our snap view of our kingdoms themselves. And then our 3 main kingdoms. You got the Getland, you got the Vasterland, and you got Throvenland. And these 3 really stand out. The letters are big. It's easy to see these are the 3 we should be paying attention to. it's just perfect. And when our and the our it's a map that you keep referencing while you read the story, because in each book our protagonists go to like one of the other kingdoms and they travel multiple different parts of this land. So it's like, yeah, you need to know these places, and I love that. It's not quite an archipelago, but there are some parts of it that are sort of archipelago-like. I just really enjoyed the need to use this map and the way it was drawn. I enjoyed both, and for me, that makes it a great map. At number 8 for me would be the Earthsea map by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is an archipelago map, and for me, that's what stands out the most. Like when I picked up the map and when I picked up the book, when I picked up the first book in the series and I opened it and I saw the map, I was like, oh, okay, I know what I'm in for now. I think it's the first fantasy archipelago map I ever saw, and I really like latched onto it when I saw it. Matter of fact, I liked the map more than I liked the first two books. Like the map itself was like, oh, this map's awesome. It's one of the reasons I kept reading it, because I was like, I want to explore all these islands. And guess what? You don't really explore all the islands. Now you do explore a lot of the different reaches. Like we do go north, south, west, and east in the series. And I love the differences between the islands, especially in books like The Farthest Shore and The Other Wind. You get to see a lot of different cultures, and these islands are cultured very, very differently. Like they just are. And then there's dragons in some places, and there's dragons not in other places, and it's like, where are the dragons? And then you got the Wizard School Island, which is protected, and it's like you get to see so many different islands, but the books do keep mysteries about other islands that we don't visit, which is awesome. I love when a map has like mysteries on it, and you can look at this map and right away know there's going to be mysteries. I also just like that it's different from the other maps of the time. A lot of the maps of this time were Western Shore maps in fantasy, and then we get this one, which is just a bunch of different islands. It's an archipelago. It feels enormous. Just the sea makes it feel so enormous. I love it. I love it. And of course there is a High King, but how does the High King control a bunch of different islands? And that's like a question that is actually asked in the books. And we never really get like a solid answer, but we do get some answers. And, you know, the magic does play a role in it. Yeah, just love this map in general. It's so great, and it's such a big part of the book. Like you couldn't have had this book series without the map. The map was needed. And when that happens, you want like a detailed map like this, a very good detailed map. You don't want like a cartoonish one like the Elfhame map, but which I also love, like I said. But you want something detailed, very much like this. Now this is a stylistic rendition of the map. Like the maps in the books is just black and white. But I decided to show this map because I think it's a little easier to see. Okay, next up at number 7 will be the map from the Stormlight Archive, Roshar by Brandon Sanderson. Now, I will say this about Roshar and why it's so much lower than it would be on like my favorite series list. It's because I don't think you actually need this map for a lot of the series. The last book you definitely need the map for, but the rest of the series, not really. The first 4 books you really don't need a map for. But I love the way this map is drawn, and that's like my main appeal for this map and why I like it so much. It's not because it goes well with the books, it's because of the way it's drawn. I love that it looks like a storm cloud. The series title is The Stormlight Archive. Storms play a major part of this series. People are getting storm power to do their magic. And the map itself looks like a storm cloud. It's just perfect. Like however he came up with that was such a good idea, because it's definitely not something I would have thought of. And not only does it not look like contrived, like you can make it look like a storm cloud and it looks like sort of fake and contrived. This looks like it could be a real map. But it also like fits the motif of the series, and I love that about it. Again, in the 5th book, you need to know all these places, and I do like that. Like, you need to know not more than just Aleph the Car, which is really the only place you need to know in the first 4 books. You need to know Djokovic a little bit, but besides those two, you don't really need to know any of these other places. In the 5th book, yeah, you're pretty much going all over this map, and you need to know all these places. And I really loved going back and forth looking at the map in the 5th book. I thought that was perfect. But other than that, I wasn't really looking at the map too much, but I did appreciate the map when I first opened the book series. I was like, oh, that looks like a storm cloud. That's awesome. And I do think the map's like very easy to read. The kingdom letters are just gigantic. You get a lot of these other places, which are showing up a little bit harder to read on the screen just because I had to make the map a little bit bigger, so the resolution's not as great. But trust me, these cities are very easy to read as well. So yeah, I really appreciate that about this map. And I'm somebody who generally has not loved the Brandon Sanderson maps. Like, I don't love the map Scadrial and Mistborn. I don't really care about the city maps, so I didn't care about the Faradex map, also in Mistborn. But the Roshar map, loved it. Loved it the second I saw it. I was like, oh yeah, that's perfect. Okay, at number 6 is the map from the Phantom Toll Booth. This is the first ever map. I have like a special connection to this map. This is the first ever fantasy map I've ever saw as a child. And immediately when I saw it, I was like obsessed. I was like obsessed with this map, obsessed with this book. This is one of my favorite, just standalones of all time, period. But it's definitely probably my favorite children's standalone. Just a great book. But the map itself is awesome, just for so many different reasons. I just love the wordplay here, the humor. And this map's a little bit hard to read here because of the checkerboard nature of it. But that's how it appears in the books. But yeah, you got Dictionopolis, where it's like, okay, this place is obviously going to be focusing on words. You got Digitopolis over here, the second kingdom, where it's like, this place is obviously about numbers. You got Conclusions Island, where you have to jump there. You're jumping to conclusions. Reminds me of Office Space. You got the Forest of Sight, where you can see different things in the forest, and there's a point of view spot where you can see everything. You got the Doldrums over here, where it's very easy to get lost in. Just the wordplay here is amazing. The Sea of Knowledge. You're drowning in a sea of knowledge. It's so good. It's just so good. This map is so perfect. I'll show you another rendition that's a little bit easier to read. This is like a sort of artistic rendition of the book, of the map. Right here, this one's a little bit easier to read. As you can see things a little bit easier on this map. This is not the one in the book, but just perfect. And our main character, Milo, he visits all these places. It's just you get to see it all. It's so good. And I love the little, if we go back to the original map, right here, you can't read it on this because, again, the resolution, but I'll read it to you. There's like a saying, or like a description of the lands in the map, which is really fun. Lands beyond, including a description of the several towns, boroughs, and municipalities comprising of the Kingdom of Wisdom. So that's the overall name of the kingdom. It's the Kingdom of Wisdom. Again, inside the Kingdom of Wisdom, there are 2 other kingdoms because the Kingdom of Wisdom kind of split apart in the story. Yeah, this map's just very fun map. It's another silly map, kind of like the Elfheim map, but it's a children's fantasy story, so it should be silly. And there's a lot of humor in this book. I just think it matches the tone of this book. It's another one where you can pick it up, see the map, and you know exactly what kind of story you're getting. Tons of great wordplay in this story. Yeah, just... I'm not reviewing the story, but I think the map is perfect for the story is what I'm trying to say. And I love when that happens. Just overall, just a fantastic map. Okay, at number 5, we got, I think, a map that's very heavily inspired by Lord of the Rings. Just like Eye of the World is. It's another Western Shore map. It's the Wheel of Time map, sometimes called Randland. I love this map, and I love it because when I first looked at it, I was like, this map's kind of boring. And it is. It's a very boring map to look at. But I love it because it plays such a big part of the book. Like, I constantly had to go back and forth referencing the map when I was reading the series because they travel almost the entirety of this map throughout the series. Don't get me wrong, there's still a ton of mysteries of the lands to the east. Like, we don't know much about Shara at all. And in the Borderlands, there's still a ton of mystery there. And there's no map of Seanland, at least in the books. I think there's actually a map that exists, but I don't know if it's from like Expanded Universe books or if it's just a fan-made map. But the map of actual Randland itself, I think, just works so freaking well. I brought up this more colorful map just because I think it's a little bit easier to see. So we start off over here. The book series starts off in Andor, right? Which is the center of the, world, basically. And this map has all the great places. It has 2 rivers. It has Camlin. It has Parvalon, like, right next to it. But by the end of the first book, we're all the way, like, up here. By Fardera. And then in the second book, we go all the way to Falm, which is, like, over here somewhere. So the first 2 books were, like, basically the whole northern part of the map. Obviously, we see Chiron, which is over here also. And then the third book, we're in the city of Tyr, which is down here. By the end of the series, we have traveled like this entire place. Almost even by the third book, we've traveled most of the map, the known map. So I say that to say that like this map is just so important to the series because we are traveling to so many different places. You look at this map and you're a little overwhelmed, and I know I was because there's like hundreds of different like places on this map, like named places, and we go to a ton of them. Like they are like almost all important to know. So yeah, I just love that about this map. In general, I do think it's a little bit boring artistically, which is why it's at number 5 and not higher. But other than that, I think this map just rules. Just in terms of like importance to the story, this would be number in the top 3 for sure. Like this map is so important to the story, and I think the names of some of these places are just like iconic. Like everybody knows the Two Rivers and Tarvalon. Like yeah, just great map. Okay, number 4 for me would be Aurelia from Throne of Glass. Now it is a little confusing because is the world named Aurelia or is the continent named Aurelia? At times it seems like it's both, but there are other continents in the world, so it's like a little weird. But I really love this map because in general, I think the names are, very cool. I think there's some great mysteries about it. Like I remember when I first opened this map, I saw the Witch Kingdom over here. I was like, oh, what's that about? And we never really get to learn. Well, we do get to learn what the Witch Kingdom is, but we never get to actually see the Witch Kingdom itself. And there's a ton of mysteries like that about maps. And that's what I kind of love about some fantasy maps, when there are mysteries about it, but the mysteries aren't in like the entirety of the map. But there are like interesting mysteries about it. Like the Witch Kingdom, that's interesting. How about the deserted lands, I should say, but it's just a giant desert. We do get to see the Silent Assassins, which are located over here. But what else is in this place? Probably nothing. The Frozen Waste, we don't even go to. We never even really talk about the Frozen Waste, other than we know there's a tower up here of some importance. So that's interesting. We hear about the wolf tribes above the mountains in Terrasen. We never really get to see them though. We hear about sort of the mysteries of Iwell and sort of the jungleness of it, but we don't get to see it that much. We do get like peeks at it because we do go to Iwell, but we don't get to see it all. So yeah, this map has a ton of mystery about it that I really love. I also just love some of the names. Like I said, the Witch Kingdom, Skull Island. I was like, oh, this place is gonna have pirates, isn't it? And then yes, it has pirates. It delivers. I love that there's this giant forest, Oakwald Forest, that takes up almost the entirety of like the main continents in the map, the main countries in the map. It spans almost the entirety through every country, and it plays a big importance. And then you see something like Morath, and you're like, oh, wonder what that is. And so, yeah, that turns out to be the evil place. I mean, it's clearly this map was somewhat inspired by Lord of the Rings, but she didn't just make it a Western Shore map, which I really liked. Yeah, there's just a lot about this map I really love, and I think it plays to the story perfectly. Like, because you are constantly looking up different things. Like the first 2 books just take place in Rifthold, which is in Odarlin. It's the main capital of Odarlin. Well, almost the entirety. You do start out in Endovir, which is in Terrasen technically, or the border of Terrasen and Odarlin. But you start out in Rifthold, and it's like, do I even need a map? Like, what was the point of this map? And I still loved looking at the map, but it was like, was there really any need to have this map if we're just going to have the entire story in Rifthold? Other than, like, you hear about, like, Odarlin conquering these other kingdoms, and that's, like, a kind of a big deal. So you need to know who these other kingdoms were, but you could have done that without a map. But then we eventually, in the third book, we go out to different places. We go west to Wendell, and which we don't have the map of actually, and we go to over here in the mountains, the Farian Gap, which is really cool because it's like, oh, okay, so now we're exploring other places. And then when we get back here, we eventually explore Skull Island and Iwell, and obviously we make it back to Terrasen. But then through the prequels, we explored a lot. Like the prequel novellas, we explored a lot. We explored Skull Island. We explored a little bit of Melisande with Inish, which is where Inish is over here, before the Gulf of Oro. Obviously, we explored the silent assassins in the deserted lands. Here we learn about sort of the history of the wastelands, which is really awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of this map we do explore. But like I said, there's also mysteries about it. I just love the way it's drawn too. I think it's pretty unique in the way it's drawn, just the shape of it. I love the forest area because like in the first book, like almost like the first 10 pages, we run. Well, the forest has a bunch of little folk in here who like fairies, and there's magic in the forest. It's like, oh, that's interesting. So you're wondering about this forest the entire time, and yeah, really cool. And like, what's the history behind the forest? And we kind of do learn about it. And we learn about the history of a lot of these kingdoms. We learn about the history of Adarlan. We learn about the history of Terrazin. We learn some history about Iwell. Fenhero and Millicent, we don't learn really much about at all, history-wise. But don't have to. You learn about the history of Skull Island. Yeah, just really, really fun map for me. And again, I love Thunderglass, so I'm sure I'm a little bit biased, but I do really love this map in general because it does have like names that stick out for me, like Skull Island and the Witch Kingdom. It's like, oh yeah, what's going on in those two places? And then it, I just love the way the map plays in the story. It's very important to the story. Not quite as important as it is to the, I would say, the Wheel of Time story, but I think it is very important to the story. It's not just a map that exists. Like, you need to know these places. At number 3, there's a map that I was waiting for since I was 7 years old, and the first time I picked up and played Ocarina of Time. Now, Ocarina of Time does have a map, but it's just not very impressive in my opinion. The map of Hyrule. I wanted a map of Hyrule for so long, and don't get me wrong, almost every Zelda game has a map. Like, I think the map in A Link to the Past is very good, and that probably would have been on my list if this map didn't exist. But like the Ocarina of Time map, not only is it artistically bad, I just think it's kind of boring and shallow and doesn't really show like what I wanted it to show. The Wind Waker map is an archipelago, but it's not a good looking archipelago. It's checkerboarded and it doesn't look real. It looks very fake. Skyward Sword map is just blah. Like I didn't care about that game at all, and it doesn't feel connected. So yeah, there's just a lot of Zelda maps that are like not very inspiring. And then in 2017, we got Breath of the Wild, and we got this map, and it's just perfect. Like, I love this map so much. Like, everything's in the right location, and we got all the iconic locations. Obviously, we got Central Hyrule with the Hyrule Castle right here. It's right in the middle. It's exactly where it should be. And Hyrule Field, like, right below it. Perfection. We got Gerudo, the Gerudo Valley, and it feels like a valley. You can see the mountains surrounding it. It's perfect. It feels like its own separate place, which is exactly what you want. I love that we got the grasslands. We have to go over the Great Hyrule Bridge, and like you can see the water here. It looks like a gigantic bridge, and it is. It's very important. And the grasslands all through here, right here, Necluda, Lanayru. It's raining a lot there. There's a lot of cool grass. Perfect. There's like hidden cities you can find. It works so well. You got Death Mountain, and it stands out. It stands out on its own. You can see the lava on the map. It's just perfection. You got Hyrule Forest, which is its own. I love that they just didn't stick it in the middle of the grasslands. No, it's its own area. It's such an iconic part of the game. It should be its own area. It's gigantic. It's perfect. The Lanayru Mountains. Perfection. Like, this place is like a special place in the Zelda universe. Like, the mountains. It's kind of holy. And you get it here. You get, like, the holiness of it here. It's perfect. And then Akala, which is, like, its own separate place that isn't, like, mentioned in every Zelda game, but you hear about it occasionally. It feels different. It feels more modern. It feels more sciencey and perfect. It's exactly what you want it. There's mysteries here. Like, you got Eventide Island over here in the bottom right corner. Like, how do you even get there? And what is it? Like, that's just perfect. You got this huge little canyon area, like, right here. Like, what's going on in this canyon? And you find it out, and it's exactly what you want. And I'm covering up a portion of the map. I'll move myself for a second. So you get another, like, iconic name in Zelda here, the Hebra Mountains. Like, this is exactly what you wanted. It's very snowy here, very wild, very dangerous. Perfect. Just exactly what you wanted. I don't know that they could have done this map any better than they did it. And this is really the first time we ever got a giant, like, Hyrule World map. in like for like a big 3D game. Like I said, the Link to the Past map is perfect, but it's very small. It's a 2D over top-down view map, and this is going to be the only non-book map I have on here, but I have to include it because it is a fantasy map, and it was one I was waiting for forever. And at number 2, we got J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth. Now, this is going to be number 1 for a lot of people. I love this map. This map is fantastic. It's perfection. If you're in the top 10, you're a perfect map, in my opinion. This is a perfect map. I'm showing this version first just because I love the red sort of lettering that Tolkien originally used when he made the map. I think it just like makes things sort of stand out. It's a little hard to read here because, again, I had to blow it up. But yeah, just perfect. I love them, like just like the Throne of Glass map. I love the mystery involving like a lot of these places. Like we don't get to go to like a ton of places in the Middle Earth map, and there's just a ton of mystery here. And the names are like perfect for the mysteries. Like what's out in the east in Rune, and Rune just means east. It's not even really like the name of a kingdom. It just means east. And like what's out here, we don't really know. And there's not much named out here because Tolkien didn't really explore out here. But, we do see a lot of stuff here. We don't see a ton of stuff on, like, the coastline over here up until we get to the Grey Havens. So, yeah, I'm going to go to a different map right now. So, here's a smaller map right here. And this one doesn't go as far out east or as far down south. But you get all the main stuff here. You have Gondor in the south right here. The Kingdom of Gondor and the Kingdom of Rohan. And it's like, oh, that's awesome. Then you got the evil Mordor right here. And as you can see, on all sides, it is, besides for the side in the east, which we can't see in this map, it is surrounded by mountains and protected. And you're like, okay, so this place is sort of a stronghold. And it is. It's very much a stronghold. Then you see these 2 giant forests. First, you see Mirkwood, which is this huge forest. And it's like, what's going on in there? Can't wait to see it. Then you see Lorien, and it's like, oh, that's another gigantic forest. What's going on in there? And it's like, yeah, a lot of good stuff kind of going on in both. Perfection. And then over here, you got the Shire, which is put in big lettering. And it's like, yeah, the Shire is important. It's where we start. And then, of course, at the top, you see the Lost Realm of Arnor. And it's like, the Lost Realm? What's going on there? I can't wait to learn about the history of that. And you kind of do. It delivers on kind of learning about the history of it. Even if it's not all in the Lord of the Rings books, there's other books you can get that go over the history of it. But that's what I love about this map. It's so sort of interactive. It's important to both the books, the Lord of the Rings books, and The Hobbit, and sort of the mythos of the series. Like, because you got history books on it. And it's like, yeah, you can just go over fake history here all day. There is so much to go over. So many city names, so many forests, so many mountains. I mean, you got mountains going down the entire thing. And they play a big part in the route that Frodo ends up taking down to Mordor. It's just perfect. And then over here, you got the Misty Mountains. And it's just like, yeah, those are important too. Great stuff. I love the Middle-earth map. It's so good, and it inspired so many maps. I wish it inspired a little bit less West Coast maps, but it's fine. They still usually work, and this one, like, Tolkien created a map that, like, could have this gigantic fake history that's, like, very impressive and just works on so many different levels. And also has so many mysteries about it that are unanswered that like will leave people guessing forever and leave people talking about it forever. It's just a perfect map. I don't know what else to say about it. I love this map so much. Okay, and a number 1 for me would be the Westeros map from A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. Yeah, is it just an upside down UK? You bet yeah it is. Does it matter to me? Not at all. I love this map so much. I love the way it plays into the story. I love the mysteries it represents. I love the naming of the things. The naming of the things is a big reason that I love this. Like, King's Landing is such a good name for, like, the main city of the thing. Winterfell being, like, the capital of the North. Like, where did he come up with that? Such a good name. You can go on and on with the names, and that's just 2 of them. I mean, you got the Water Gardens in Dorne. Like, perfect. High Garden in the Reach. It's like this place is known for its like sort of its capitalist gardening and agriculture, and then like the name of the place is High Garden. Storm's End in the Stormlands. Perfect name. Casterly Rock, which is built inside of a mountain. in the Westerlands. Such a great name. Yeah, you can go on and on with it. It just, I think it's some really perfect naming, and I love the way that the kingdoms are represented on the map. Like the north is gigantic, but then when you read the story, you find out like the north is just like it's like barely populated. It's like the least populated of the seven kingdoms. And then obviously you got the Riverlands, which is right in the center, and it's got the trident going through it, and it's at the neck at a very narrow point. It's just like a war-torn place because people are constantly going through the the Riverlands to get to other places. Just a war-torn area. Obviously, you got the capital in King's Landing, which has like a great port and access to go east. The story fits so perfectly. And then you got Dorne in the south, which is just desert land, and you can see why it's the only place that the Targaryens couldn't conquer, because it's just straight up desert lands. I love that George was kind of brave about it, and he made in the north everything's just freezing, and down in the south it's just desert land. And it's like, well, you look at this map, it's like, that's not real life. That's not how that usually works. I mean, yeah, some places, but not everywhere. It's just not how it works. But it worked here. It really worked here. And then, I love how each kingdom sort of has its own identity. The north, again, sort of a cold. The people a little bit more wild here. The Riverlands is sort of like this war-torn place. There's a lot of warriors here and stuff like that. The Vale, like the mountain lands, it's like they're very honorable, high as honor, and they're knights, and they're just all about honor here. The Reach, they're sort of like the capitalists of the place. It's all about sort of making money, and how do you do that? And it's very a rich place to live. And then in the Dorne, it's just the desert area. It's we don't really need anything to survive. We're our own people, basically. They're own separate people. And yeah, the story plays like that. The map is very important to the story. You travel a lot of it, but you haven't traveled everywhere. We haven't really been to many places in the Westerlands. It's very underexplored, right? We really haven't been to that many places in the Stormlands. Very underexplored area. Dorne, we've been to some places in Dorne, but we could have been to more places in Dorne. Dorne is gigantic. Look at it. And we haven't been to everywhere. And then, of course, you got Above the Wall, which is the lands of Always Winter. Can't wait to visit there some more. Come on. And then you got this island right here, which is supposedly filled with a bunch of cannibals. Haven't visited there yet. And then you got the Iron Island, and these people are just basically pirates. That is their thing. They are basically pirates. Pirates and Vikings. Some combo of the two is what they are. Very interesting place. I just love the way it plays on the map. I love the naming. I love the world building that goes on it just by reading the map. You can pick up this map and read it, and it's oh, what's there? There's places that haven't been explored yet. There's this giant swampy area in the middle. What it's called? I think it's called Grey Watch, maybe. And we don't know what goes on in there. And when you look at the map, you're like, that's weird. It's just a giant swamp. What could possibly go on there? And then there's another place called the God's Eye. You look at the map and you see the God's Eye, and you're like, that sounds super cool. What goes on there? And that's what I love when you can pick up a map and you see a name of a place and you're like, what goes on there? And some of the answers we've gotten, and some of the answers we haven't gotten. And I think that's really, really cool and makes for a great map. And I love, again, when a map is used in a story. And I think it's used here really, really well. I think the top 5, all of my top 5 uses their maps really, really, really well. And so for me, I know some people want Middle-earth to be number 1. For me, I would be disingenuous. For me, my number 1 is Westeros, for sure. And this is just one Westeros map. There's Essos to the east is equal in distance right to left or something. It's just gigantic. It looks basically like Russia. It just looks like a giant version of Russia. Really cool map. I think George nailed it with this map. So yeah, that is my top 10 maps. Let me know down below what you think of my selections, or what your favorite map is, what your least favorite map is. Just let me know. Let me know what maps you really appreciate. What did I miss? I want to know it all. Again, thanks for watching.